Hey everybody, good afternoon. Dr. Nicole here. Listen, it's Friday. We're headed into the weekend. I want to give you a little motivation, and I also want to answer the question of the day. So a lot of times people will DM me, or we'll be in the DMs. They'll even come on some of my posts and ask a question. So I have this question. I think it is just brilliant. Someone asked me, why is it so hard to set boundaries and be consistent with it? And I'm like, you have gotten into my mind of what I try to tell people, right? So I know it seems like boundaries, we hear it all the time, and we hear that it's just like you go out and you say no. Once you say no, girl, it's done. It's over with. You completed the mission and you should be good to go. But what people find is that there's this whole cycle of really being able to establish healthy boundaries in your life. And it's usually not as easy as it may seem. So that question was brilliant. Why is it so hard to set and maintain boundaries consistently? So I'm going to give you a few reasons. Number one, especially for certain people like women, it can be difficult because we feel a lot of guilt. I cannot tell you how many times people that I talk to, whether it's women that I work with in coaching or in therapy, or just that I'm talking to on a day-to-day basis, right? These things come up when I'm just talking to people. I hear over and over, it's the G word, right? It's almost like that's a dirty word. People feel like they feel so guilty when they have to disappoint others. That's sort of like at the core of it, because we want so badly to please others and to make them happy, especially people that we care about, right? And especially as women, it's so much of how we're socialized. So we want so badly to please others, to make them feel good, to make them feel like we're the good one, we're the good girl. So we feel guilty when we have to kind of let other people be disappointed. We also feel guilty when we have to let other people down, because a lot of times it becomes a part of our identity. We see ourselves as the reliable ones, right? Where are my high achievers out there? Any high achievers, right? We're the ones that are competent. We're reliable. We get things done. We don't drop the ball. And so then part of boundaries is that sometimes you do have to drop the ball. Let's be really, really honest, right? Boundaries is not this cute little thing where, hey, you just say no and other people are fine with it, right? It doesn't always happen like that. Sometimes we get pushback, and sometimes we feel like we have to drop the ball. Yes, I got my high achiever in the house. Hey, Dion. And that's just the reality of it, because what it is boundaries are saying that we are acknowledging our limitations, that we can't do everything. We can't be everything to everyone. And so when we acknowledge that, inevitably what happens is we got to put some things down. We got to take off some capes, right? We have to be able to acknowledge that we just can't. We're humans. We can't do it all. And when you're a high achiever, you are used to whatever you put your mind to, it gets done. But in the emotional realm, it's a bit different, right? You can't will your way into well-being, into wellness, into inner balance and inner peace. You really have to set yourself up so that the things that matter to you, you prioritize them, and the things that aren't serving you, you find a way to relegate them or take them off the plate or put them on the back or whatever, right? So it's that guilt thing. It's that guilt thing that is so difficult for us to deal with. But here's the thing. Once we're able to acknowledge that guilt and recognize that it's normal, right? That's why I'm here to tell you it's normal to feel that. But to know that the guilt won't kill you, right? It'll be okay. And the guilt, the disappointment that other people might feel when you have to tell them no, they'll be okay. They will survive. And guess what? Your relationship will survive as well. If that was someone who meant something to you, it will be okay. I always tell the story, go back on my timeline and look at my posts. I think 2 posts ago, I said, boundaries is what saved my marriage. It helps us to have mutual respect for each other. It helps us to know that we can't control anybody else outside of ourselves. And it helps us to forgive each other because you know what? Sometimes you will let somebody down. And that is the reality. That's the hard truth that we don't want to talk about when it comes to boundaries. Boundaries, it sounds so sweet. Like, oh God, I'm just going to set my boundaries. But reality is we have to speak on the hard truths of what it means to really have healthy boundaries in your life. And I always share my personal story that it wasn't until things opened up and changed in my life in terms of getting rid of burnout, in terms of getting rid of resentment and that pent up, like that passive feeling that you just, why don't people respect me? Well, because I wasn't showing them how to respect me. And part of that journey is sometimes I made some missteps. Sometimes I went a little too far, right? Or sometimes I wasn't as consistent as I needed to be. But here's the thing. I kept on the journey because I knew it was worthwhile. And I knew that boundaries was not just a one-time thing, but it was a whole process. And acknowledging the guilt will be key to you. This goes back to the question that I was asked. Why is it hard to maintain boundaries? Because part of it is you don't want to feel the discomfort of the guilt. So once we start working through that, acknowledging it, knowing it'll be okay, sitting with the discomfort a little bit, then that will take you to the next stage. Okay? Does anybody have any questions? Thank you all for joining. If you haven't already, look at the link in my bio. My Boundaries to Bliss 30-day boot camp is starting on February 6th. I have room for 10 women who are ready to change their lives, who are ready to jump from burnout and all that stuff over to the side of bliss by using healthy boundaries. And we're going to really dig into what are healthy boundaries, what are too rigid boundaries, and which ones are too, loose. What do you need? What kind of support do you need? What kind of mindset do you need to be able to maintain boundaries and also supercharge your relationships? Boundaries are not just about, oh, I'm saying no to everybody. They actually invigorate, they actually help the important relationships in your life. Okay, so thank you all for joining. I just wanted to give you all, some motivation. It is Friday here where I am. There's a snowstorm coming, so I'm about to head to the store and stock up on all of our snacks. And because I have these boundaries in my life, I feel like I can relax and enjoy my family. All right, so I will see you all next time, and I hope you have a great weekend.